Welcome to Dealing with the Devils. It's Jack and JD back again. The Blue Devils improved to 17-2, 5-2 in conference play with an 81-54 win over Pitt. JD, this was not a close affair, to put it mildly.
It was not. From start to finish. Duke was in control. Pitt just never could match up for this one.
Yeah, big games from the front court duo tonight. 20 points apiece. They only had 8 and 7 rebounds. And for them, that's definitely a poor night. They combined for over 20 rebounds a game. But I think most of that was just because of lack of opportunities on the boards. Pitt turned the ball over a ton, especially in the first half.
I think that's true, but it really is quite formidable when every night you have to go out there and not only are you trying to figure out the rest of the Duke team, but you're sitting there and you're going, the two bigs are going to combine for 40 points and 20 rebounds. That is tough. Right,
and tonight they did it very efficiently, combining for 15 of 20 from the floor. They each knocked down a three-pointer. And really, Carter was phenomenal in the first half. He scored in such a variety of ways. He has that three-pointer from the top of the key he loves to hit, as well as he had a couple of nice post moves, dropping the pivot foot there and spinning to the basket. Carter looked great tonight, but Grayson Allen also had a nice return game, hit a few three-pointers tonight. Good sign for Grayson to finally get the ball to go through the net, JD.
I think that's true, but I think Grayson's trying to find different ways to contribute in an offense that I think isn't always as smooth. I complained about the flow of it. I always think this is going to be another issue come tournament time. But, in a game like today, it's sort of like, let's just bring it down and let's face it. These guys are all capable of going for 20, and we almost had 4 of them today.
Right, and yeah, Gary Trent Jr. Also had 17 points on 5 of 7 shooting from 3. Another night where Gary Trent, besides the last game against Miami, he can almost do anything on the court and get no notice because he's so far down the pecking order that it's tough for everyone to keep track of him. But JD, I know this is where you want to go. So Trey Duval tonight, or today, whatever you want to call it, 5 points, 4 turnovers, 4 assists. What are your thoughts on Trey Duval?
He was the highest recruited point guard in the country. And with that, I thought we had the second coming of Quinn Cook or Tyus Jones, that we would have the confidence in the point guard to distribute the ball and that the point guard was in control. Clearly, Trey Duval is not that kind of point guard. 4 turnovers today, 5 in the last game. That's going to matter at some point.
Yes, it will, and his ability to make good decisions with the basketball, not turn over, was something that in the beginning of the year he was definitely stronger at, and as the season has kind of wore on, he's shown some weaknesses in that part of his game in terms of ball security. But the point that I like to make to you is that the offense isn't necessarily designed around Duval. And so when it gets into a half-court set, the turnovers, you can't really excuse those. There's no excuse for that. But in terms of the lack of shots, he only shot the ball 4 times, and the number of assists today, it's because so much of the offense runs through the big guys, in my opinion. And, you look at that, and I think Duval needs to find some opportunities in transition. That's where he's at his best, when he's able to kind of use his speed, when he changes speeds and is really able to use the full length of the court.
I think we've got a couple of more games. Well, we're going to be tested, clearly, but we've got a couple of more games where Grayson and Duval have to figure out what they're going to do in the backcourt to strengthen this team. And I think that Grayson, as good as he is also at times, a deer lost in the headlights lately. And I'm not certain what's going on other than he's trying to figure out how does he fit in to help this team. So I'm going to say it in the most positive way possible, that he's trying to be, Tyus Quinn Cook, in terms of saying, I'm a senior, I want to help us win, and I've got to fit in. But it's a very strange team that he's not used to in terms of two bigs that are just dominant. And where does he fit in? And he's going to have to figure that out with Duval come tournament time, because the bigs are set. We know what they're going to do. And Gary Trent, he's out there in three-point land, and, when he's shooting like this, 5 for 7, and it's been a couple of games now where he has stepped up, and you're right, it's absolutely a quiet 20 points that people don't necessarily give him credit for, although a little bit more credit the last couple of games. But the backcourt's got to solidify and understand what they're going to do, and it's got to look better.
Right, that was exactly where I was going to go, JD. Carter, Bagley, they know what they're supposed to do. Gary Trent has certainly figured it out the past week or so, but it seems like Grayson and Trey kind of they're working their way through. They're trying to figure out really how do they complement Carter, Bagley best. And so Grayson's definitely gone through some growing pains here, especially recently, the past 5 or 6 games or so. Today, again, was a positive sign, I think, moving forward, just because he's got to be aggressive. That's who he is. And so when he's not looking to shoot or score the ball, I think, yes, there was the game where he had 8 assists and 12 rebounds. But realistically, Grayson's a guy who likes to get to the basket. He's a great three-point shooter when his head's on straight. And, really, I think that when he's aggressive and looking for his own shot, it helps out everyone, because the opposition knows they have to, game plan for Grayson Allen. Don't forget that just 2 years ago, this guy was the best player on the Blue Devils, scoring 22 points a game, and was the number 1 guy in scouting reports. And so for Grayson to make this transition, as JD has said, has been tough for him. Maybe this is a good sign moving forward.
Look, you know how much I like analytics, and it's a shame that you can't capture some of the things that Grayson does on the court. He is actually, I don't even know another player that I've seen do this well, where he anticipates the pass, and he's running to where the ball is going, and he deflects it with his hand. Sometimes where he can get the ball and lead a breakaway, sometimes where he's just getting the ball and passing it to someone else. The other thing that you don't pick up is the number of times that he is diving for open balls that are on the court, or he's trying to get to it before it goes out of bounds. Those are things that are just not captured in statistics. And Grayson Allen's energy that way, you're absolutely right, Jack, turns around the team, creates momentum the other way. And that is never captured in when we're looking at the statistics at the end of the game.
Right. And really quickly here before we move on, I think Grayson on defense, in terms of what you're discussing there, he's great off ball in terms of attacking the passing lanes, going towards the offensive basket. But at times when the opposition is able to get a backdoor cut on Grayson, he can fall asleep, lose his man, and give up an easy basket on defense. Now, really quickly, before we move into a little bit about this week's games, I thought, we got to talk a little bit about the bench. 2 points tonight, but I thought Jack White looked good again. He's been their best bench player the past couple of games, and I anticipate him getting a few more minutes, or at least he deserves it moving forward.
Well, Jack, my man Jack White had 4 rebounds again, and Frank even had the 2 points at the end, at which point someone said, "Who was that?" And I said, "That's Frankovich. That's our guy." So it was nice to see the bench in there, and I think part of my criticism of Coach K when he doesn't play the bench when they're blowing out a team like this is simply about the risk of injury. And he has a very good bench. They can accumulate minutes. It's not like in the final 5-6 minutes of the game when they're up by 20, the starters are all going to come together and play, fluid ball that will help them, close out the season, go into the ACC, March Madness. So it's good to get the playing time for the bench so that they are there if somebody is injured. So I was glad to see them all in the field.
All right, JD. So 2 games this week. We got Tuesday night at Wake Forest. I think that's going to be a close one. They played us pretty well in Durham. but then Duke pulled away late. And then obviously the big game Saturday at home versus Virginia. Any thoughts on the two games upcoming this week?
Well, Wake in Wake is always a headache. You like that one?
Yeah, I
Always
like it. I like it.
And, so I think we should win because we're playing pretty well. We're on a roll here, and these aren't like cocky games against teams that you have to look up, like what state are they from. On the other hand, the Virginia game, you're right. Thank goodness we're going to pair up against them at home, and that is going to be a war. It is going to, Virginia loves to keep the score low. Duke is the highest scoring team in the ACC, if not the country. And it is going to be a war between, does defense conquer or does offense conquer? And, they're going to make us really have to distribute the ball well. And I don't know exactly how the matchups will occur with the two big guys, but I'm really looking forward to that game, and I'm even looking forward to Wake.
Yep, and look, I think if that game's played in the 60s, it's probably going to go to Virginia. If Duke can get into the low 70s, Duke should win that game. But JD, take us away.
It was a nice win today. We moved to 17-2. Jack, we're out. That's dealing with the Devils.